welcome to Brands Hatch for the third encounter at the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Now the competitors are taking on the short and twisty Indy circuit here at Brands Hatch, which is very difficult to overtake, especially when you've got 28 Mazdas on track. But it's James Blake Baldwin who tops the championship standings at the moment, ahead of Luke Herbert. But it's Luke Herbert who scored the only 2 wins so far this season. Can he continue his winning ways? Well, let's find out. Here's Andy McEwan with race 1.
Yes, thank you very much, Anthony. Well, he's going about it in just the right way so far this weekend, with pole position for race number 1. James Blake Baldwin, his big championship rival alongside, though. Aidan Hills and Jack Harding make up row 2, ahead of Johnny Greensmith and Colin Bysouth, then Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin down on the 4th row, both though capable of finishing top 5. And then it's Gary Townsend and Jack Sycamore ahead of Sam Tatler and Alec Livesley. Will Stevenson and Christian White are next, with James Kell and Nick Boone on row number 8 of the grid. Row 9 for George Grant and Carl Garnett. Then Bradley Kent, younger brother of TCR racer Lewis, is on row 10 with Alex King. And it's Tom Parker and Alex Miller, Duncan Harris and Aldo Ritty, with Xavier Brook, Nick Rutter, Jeff Gurrier and Mark Swarbrick rounding out the 28-car field. So Herbert on the pole position arrives here at Brands Hatch, 3rd place in the points, just 6 points off the championship leader. James Blake Baldwin, though, who of course starts on the outside of row number 1 with him. The red lights go on, they go out now, and we are away and racing, and Herbert makes the best start from pole position. He will lead the pack down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time of asking. Bit of pushing and shoving going on there in the midfield. They're 3 and 4 abreast, in fact, just outside the top 10. Simon Baldwin there with a lock-up, runs a bit wide, but it's Herbert from Blake Baldwin, the top 2. Jack Harding slops through into 3rd place, ahead of Aidan Hills, so he gained a place off the line as well. On board with Colin Bysouth, trying to go around the outside in towards Druids. That's always fraught with danger, but he might have been able to get 4th place out of all of that. Let's have a look as they drop down the hill in towards Graham Hill Bend. They've turned their way through that very technical left-hander there, Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin dicing away. But yes, 4th place there, look for Colin Bysouth. Aidan Hills is 5th, and Johnny Greensmith 6th. So Colin Bysouth in the number 11 car having a really good start to this race, but he's left the door open there for Aidan Hills to get up the inside in towards Clearways. The momentum could be with Bysouth on the outside line. Hills has the shorter route down towards Paddock Hill Bend. This will be side by side across the start-finish line for 4th position. And Aidan Hills, whose teammate Luke Herbert is leading the race, is going to go past Bysouth, and Johnny Greensmith will try and follow him too. But we already have hands out of the cockpit because we have a safety car being thrown now. Why is that? We have, well, presumably we do have a car off in a dangerous area at the end of the opening lap. We didn't spot any of the front runners coming to grief, but presumably there are cars a bit further back that have failed to make it round the first lap, so that's a shame, but it means that the order is put on hold. So as they come across the start-finish line, the top 4 break away slightly. Herbert, Harding, Blake Baldwin and Aidan Hills. Then Bysouth and Greensmith dicing over 5th. And then this fight for 6th between Steve Roberts, Simon Baldwin and Carl Garnett. In towards Paddock Hill Bend again. Then it's Jack Sycamore in the orange car next in line. Drop down the hill, out over the curb, back up the other side again towards Druids. And Greensmith there having a little look at the inside of Colin Bysouth in front of him. Really shown a big upturn in pace over the course of the winter. But then here is the real battle on track for the race lead and for the championship lead as well amongst these top 3 drivers. Battling right the way down the order. There's George Grant behind him, Sycamore at the inside of Gary Townsend there at the forefront of the screen. Number 5 goes through as well, that's Alec Livesley. There is the Clapham Hall delivery car of George Grant, one of the series sponsors. And a great character as well to have in the championship is George. 30s go our leading pack, and it's all very close indeed right the way down the order. You can see here that apart from Luke Herbert at the front of the field, everyone's got somebody to race with, whether it's for a podium position or a position outside the top 15. It doesn't matter, they'll still go for it. It's one of the joys of Mazda MX-5 racing, be it these Mark III SuperCup cars or the older Mark I machines. The racing is equally as intense and always has been. That's what made Mazda MX-5 racing such a fan favourite series in the UK. So leaders head up towards Druids, and we are now approaching the final stages of this race. Still Harding in 2nd place ahead of James Blake Baldwin. It looks as though James maybe has given this all he's got, because he's dropped back a few lengths now from the 43 car in front of him. Along the Cooper straight though, and he's maybe just starting to close back in again. There's Luke Herbert though, still pushing on, you can see, in the lead of the race through Surtees, which is almost flat out in these cars, maybe just a lift off the throttle to get the nose into the corner. And then nose really getting into the corner there for the AK Automotive car of Jack Harding as he slid and slid his way through the final turn, back onto the pit straight, loses a bit of speed as a result though, and so Blake Baldwin does close back in onto the, could be the final lap of the race actually, yes it is, final lap board is out, so Harding with Blake Baldwin up the inside again then into paddock. So clearly James was listening to me and wants to remind us all that actually he hasn't given up, nor will he give up until he sees the checkered flag. The Blink Motorsport car will be on full attack right the way down to the end of the race, that's for sure. This is equally tight for fourth place. Aidan Hills has fended off Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin all race long, but can he hold them off for another half a lap? Often it's the hardest half a lap to keep cars behind because you've got all the pressure of the final lap. They're starting to get more and more frustrated behind you as well. He's built a bit of a margin over the two of them heading towards the end of the lap. If anything, Simon Baldwin is thinking about going up the inside of Steve Roberts. Does more than think about it. He goes up the inside of Steve Roberts. They'll lean on each other slightly coming out of the corner and run side by side down towards the checkered flag. About to take the checkered flag though is Luke Herbert. For the third time this year, Luke Herbert takes the victory in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Second place goes the way of Jack Harding, and third position for James Blake Baldwin after their race-long scrap. Aidan Hills in fourth, and Simon Baldwin did get that fifth place at the end. So there is confirmation of the result, 1.1 seconds in the end, separating the top two from Blake Baldwin in third, Aidan Hills fourth, and Simon Baldwin in fifth. Then it's Steve Roberts, Johnny Greensmith down in seventh. He'll be disappointed with that, so too will Bisout in eighth, ahead of Sam Tatler and Carl Garnett. Then it's Gary Townsend, Jack Sycamore, Alec Livesley, Will Stevenson and James Kell, ahead of George Grant, Tom Parker, Nick Boone, Aldo Ritty and Xavier Brook. Alex King, Alex Miller, Duncan Harris and Marcus Swarbrick round out the finishers, whilst we lost Jeff Gurrier, Nick Rutter, Christian White, Bradley Kant never made it round the first lap.
Luke, well-deserved win. Leaves you third in the championship. It's getting tight at the top though.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 6 points between me, James, and Jack, and you've got people like Johnny Greensmith and Aidan Hills, you know, biting on our heels. So, I mean, yesterday was quite an easy win. Easy in the fact that I got away off the line quick, and Jack and James started battling, and then it was just a case of staying within the white lines, not getting track limit penalties, and bringing the car home.
James, coming into this meeting, you're leading the championship. The third place still leaves you there or thereabouts, but what a race that was.
Yeah, that was a hard-fought race. Sadly, I made a mistake at the top of Druids, I believe, and let Jack through, completely my fault, and then just couldn't get past. But, you know, hopefully progress for race 2.
Race 2 for the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup is about to get underway. Cars are all lined up in the assembly area. The front row is headed up by Luke Herbert and then James Blake Baldwin. The grid positions are based on the second fastest qualifying times, which means John Greensmith had a bit of a dismal qualifying session, puts you in 8th for the second race. It's going to be interesting from your point of view.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work, to be honest with you, from grid 8, which I didn't really want, but qualifying didn't work out properly for us. So it's going to be an interesting race, definitely.
Yeah, I think the trick here with Brands Hatch is trying to get as far ahead as you can from the start, because Luke's just going to be away.
Oh yeah, if everyone starts messing about, and that's it, Luke will be gone, absolutely disappearing in sunshine. So I just need to be on them straight away, to be honest with you, on that first lap, make sure everyone trips over each other, and I'll be pouncing there, ready.
And with the way the drop scores works, it's vital to score as many points as you can this weekend.
Yeah, it is. You've got really, if you want to be in contention for the championship, you've got to be in top 5 every single race. So, like yesterday, we didn't do very well, to be honest with you, a little bit of contact and stuff, and we just had to drop that score, drop that one, and then carry on for the whole rest of the season.
Well, the whistle's just blown, telling us to get in the car, so
yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers, John. So with that, I'll hand you up to our commentary team and Andy McEwan.
Yeah, thanks Anthony, and drop scores will be something we'll be talking about more and more as the season goes on. For now, let's talk about the grid. As Anthony said, second fastest qualifying times deciding this one, so it's Herbert from Blake Baldwin again on row 1, ahead of Harding and Hills on row 2, then it's Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin on the third row, with Colin Bisout and Johnny Greensmith down on row number 4. Row 5 is Gary Townsend and Alec Livesley, with Sam Tatler and Jack Sycamore on row 6, Will Stevenson and Nick Boone are on row 7, James Kell and Christian White hoping to reach the end of this one on row 8. George Grant and Bradley Kent on the 9th row ahead of Carl Garnett and Alex King, then Alex Miller and John Stack, with Tom Parker and Xavier Brook on the 12th row. Jeff Gurrier and Duncan Harris are next, with Nick Rutter and Marcus Swarbrick once more rounding out the 28 car field. So Herbert from the pole. Look at the way that James Blake Baldwin is aggressively angling his car down towards the pit wall. That's because the pit straight here at Brands Hatch slopes quite severely from right to left, and so you can gain a benefit from getting gravity on your side, so to speak. Does it work for Blake Baldwin? It looks like they're going to be side by side as the lights go out and the rush towards Paddock Hill Bend begins. Here comes Aidan Hills up the inside of Blake Baldwin for second place, but Herbert, I think, is just about going to hang on. Can Hills get second place away from Blake Baldwin as they dash up the hill towards Druids for the first time? Let's wait and see. All safely through Paddock into the braking zone, and yes, Hills has got the inside line, and the danger at this early stage of the race is that Blake Baldwin could find himself getting hung out to dry and lose places hand over fist on board with Bysouth. Looking back at Greensmith there, who's back up the inside of him down towards Graham Hill Bend, having been eased out over the grass coming out of Druids. Bysouth now runs wide. Gary Townsend up the inside. Oh, contact, and off goes Bysouth, and just avoids the barriers by the skin of his teeth, but he'll fall right to the back of the grid, and that's another missed opportunity really for Colin, who has been on the fringes of the top 5 all year long and just not quite been able to hold on to a really good finish. So that's a shame for him. Carl Garnett there is out on the grass coming out of Clearways, but it's Herbert that leads the way. Hill second, Blake Baldwin third, Harding fourth. Now Jack Harding, remember, beat Blake Baldwin in the first race, and in doing so took a share of the championship lead. He and James are now tied on points for the championship lead, with Luke Herbert only 2 points further back. So the top 3 covered by 2 points in the championship race. It is that close. Back down towards Graham Hill Bend they go, and Aidan Hills ahead of both of those top 2 in the championship, and now trying to get himself in front of everybody by challenging for the race lead. This is a much better performance than we saw yesterday for Aidan, when he just seemed to be lacking a little bit in outright speed, couldn't quite go with the race leaders, and now here he is right on the tail of the race leader himself. Almost got himself alongside Blake Baldwin up at Clearways last time round. Into the gravel though has gone Will Stevenson in number 62. That's at Paddock Hill Bend, I think. And that can be retrieved with a live snatch, but we're that late into the race that I wonder whether they might just decide to throw a red flag. We'll wait and see. It's not that it's a particularly serious incident, it's just that there's no point really throwing the safety car, because by the time the safety car's got out and caught everyone up, the time will have run out anyway. So we are right in the dying moments of this race, only a couple of laps left, so we'll see whether they let them run right the way to the end. James Blake Baldwin will be hoping that they do, because he's really starting to build up a challenge on Luke Herbert, but they're into a yellow flag zone now at Paddock Hill Bend, so he can't overtake there. No overtaking when the yellow flags are on display. That's the reason why. Will Stevenson's car even beached in the gravel trap, so we've had a few drivers throwing themselves at the scenery in this one. We've also lost Nick Boone, I believe, into the pit lane, so 4 or 5 cars are not going to make it to the end of this race. But what's going to happen in this 4 or 5 car train at the front of the field? Luke Herbert, so far so good. He's been able to hold off Blake Baldwin so far in this race. Jack Harding doesn't seem quite able to stay with them at the moment, nor does Aidan Hills, so it's a 2-horse race at the front between Herbert and Blake Baldwin. What can James Blake Baldwin do there? He comes out through Clearways once again and onto the pit straight. In the slipstream down towards the start-finish line they will go, and it is Luke Herbert just about hanging on, I think, from Blake Baldwin in second, who's looking to the inside line there down towards Paddock Hill Bend. On the brakes they go, and we are on to the final lap, so they are going to shorten the race by a lap by the looks of it. So they're going to throw the checkered flag this time around, so that means that Blake Baldwin's got a bit less time to make this move stick than he would have done. Back out of Druids, down towards Graham Hill Bend they go, and he's looking left, looking right. Which way does he go? Goes to the outside into the corner, trying to get that switchback manoeuvre on the exit, but he's got to watch out because Jack Harding is right there with him as well. Oh, any one of these 3 drivers could still take to the top step of the podium, and maybe even cars behind them if it all goes wrong. Into the final couple of corners, this is a good overtaking opportunity, but Herbert knows that and defends the inside line, and I don't think there's much that they can do about it now. Luke Herbert, already with 3 wins to his name in 2018, is about to add a 4th, and for the 2nd weekend in a row he wins races 1 and 2 of the weekend in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. He wins at Brands Hatch once more. 2nd place goes the way of James Blake Baldwin, and Jack Harding rounds out the podium finishes. A great race though, and that time around Luke really wasn't able to pull that much of a gap over the cars behind. There we see confirmation of the result then. Herbert from Blake Baldwin, from Harding and Hills behind. Then it is Simon Baldwin and Steve Roberts, Johnny Greensmith and Carl Garnett from Sam Tatler and Gary Townsend rounding out the top 10. Then it's Alec Livesley and Jack Sycamore ahead of Bradley Kent, who finished that one in 13th. Then Colin Bysouth and Christian White. Alex Miller, Xavier Brook, Tom Parker, Jeff Gurrier and Nick Rutter round out the top 20. We lost Will Stevenson, Nick Boone, Alex King, George Grant, James Kell and Duncan Harris, unfortunately, never finished the first lap.
Luke, that wasn't easy, was it?
No, that race highlighted, what pole means in this championship sometimes. We're all so competitive and also quick that pole was really what won that race for me.
Yeah, I was mentioning it to the other guys, getting a good start here at Brands and getting in front. I even spoke to Jonathan Greensmith and he said, yeah, once you've gone, you've gone.
Yeah, that's it. It's, when yellow flags are out as well, it just makes it even easier. But, the car's handling brilliantly. All the sponsors are here today, SSC Recycling, Chichester Watersports, ANS Tools, McEwan Wealth Management, ACC Tyres. So couldn't do it without all of them. So, yeah, it's just a great day.
We're going to see a hat-trick on the car.
Thanks very much.
James, one step higher this time. You can't get past Luke around Brands Hatch.
Yeah, very difficult circuit to try and pass. Luke's managed it really, really well. We've got some thinking to do. I've got some ideas. So hopefully the next race will be a little bit better.
Jack, it wasn't easy. It was an epic battle throughout, but third place, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. We had a second yesterday. We know the importance of qualifying. We didn't qualify very well, unfortunately, due to a couple of issues. So damage limitation, really. We finished second yesterday, which was really good. Really happy with that. And today, third. Good points again. So going on to race 3.
Yes, well, reverse good races always provide action, and this one I'm sure will be no different around the tight and twisty Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Carl Garnett, the lucky man, drawn on pole position alongside Greensmith on the front row. Then Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin ahead of Aidan Hills and Jack Harding, with James Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert on the front row of the grid, top 2 from the last race. Then it's Sam Tatler and Gary Townsend, Alec Livesley and Jack Sycamore, Bradley Kent and Colin Bysouth on row 7, Christian White and Alex Miller on row 8. Xavier Brook and Tom Parker are next, then Jeff Gurrier and Nick Rutter, then it's John Stack and Marcus Swarbrick, and then the drivers who didn't finish race 2, Will Stevenson and Nick Boone, Alex King and George Grant, James Kell and Duncan Harris at the rear of the field. So, Johnny Greensmith, last time out at Knock Hill, didn't have a particularly exciting first couple of races, a 4th and a 7th place finish, then got drawn on the front row for race 3 and won it. Can he do the same thing again today after 2 7th place finishes? He could really do with a race win. As the lights go out, he rushes towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's got to try and find a way around Carl Garnett first of all, though, who he's side by side with into the first corner. Look at Luke Herbert there going around the outside of everybody towards Paddock Hill Bend, but gets boxed out by Simon Baldwin. Greensmith, though, has the lead, I think, as they go towards Druids. Yes, he does. So Greensmith leads the way, and that's Simon Baldwin trying to go around the outside. Luke Herbert makes it 3 wide right around the outside. Jack Harding is off the track further back. That's drama for one of our championship contenders. But as they head down the hill, it is going to be Greensmith from Garnett, from Simon Baldwin, the top 3, with then Luke Herbert, I think, up to 4th already. On board with Colin Bysouth, who had a spin down at Graham Hill Bend on the opening lap of race 2, gets through there safely this time around. That's Gary Townsend and Alec Livesley behind him. Bysouth in the zebra liveried car is keeping it a lot cleaner at the start of this third race of the weekend. Side by side for second there briefly as Simon Baldwin tried to get up the inside of Carl Garnett for that P2. You can see though in the pack there how Jack Harding has really lost out, down to about 9th or 10th position, I believe, at the end of the opening lap after running wide up at Druids in towards Paddock. There is Jack Harding, looking at the 43 car ahead of Jack Sycamore and Colin Bysouth. Now, having finished behind Blake Baldwin by 2 points in the first race, he did lose the championship lead to James. So James moved 2 points ahead of him, but Luke Herbert, of course, gained points on them all. So it now works out that Blake Baldwin leads the championship by 2 points over Herbert and Harding, tied for second. That's how close it is. And Luke Herbert is just in front of Blake Baldwin in this one again, but of course they're both quite some distance now in front of Jack Harding, who's got some work to do. In towards the end of another lap we go then, and Carl Garnett here defending second place from Simon Baldwin. He throws one up the inside in towards clearways. He did this a couple of times in the previous race, and he's going to try and do it again now to Carl Garnett. Leans on the number 19 AK Automotive car on the exit of the corner, but does get himself fully alongside. So Baldwin on the inside line towards Paddock, and is he about to open the floodgates? I wonder, because Luke Herbert is there as well, trying to follow him through. Garnett has to go late on the brakes to try and hold on to the position. He's a bit too late though, gets out onto the dirty side of the road, runs out over the curbs, and that could do the damage, because up the inside again goes Baldwin, and watch out for Luke Herbert, and then the other Baldwin, James Blake Baldwin, try and follow through. Actually, James is on the outside line there at the hairpin and gets almost boxed out wide by Steve Roberts, who's been very racy this weekend. Simon Baldwin and Luke Herbert go through. Now James is up the inside in towards Graham Hill Bent. 3 places lost already for Garnett, and a loss of momentum on the exit of the corner. So Aidan Hills tried to get up the inside of him in towards Surtees. Can he make that one work? Side by side into one of the quickest corners on the track, and he had to back out of it. That loses him momentum there, and Steve Roberts and a resurgent Jack Harding are right behind him now. So Jack is desperately trying to get himself back onto terms with his championship contenders, basically. Just behind them is Colin Bysouth, who turns his way across the start-finish line to James Blake Baldwin, but he's now in the race lead and looking like he's going to take his 2nd race win of the year. He comes across the start-finish line to start what I believe maybe the final lap of the race. We might just squeeze 2 more laps out of it. No, this will be the last lap. There's confirmation of the last lap board, and so James Blake Baldwin has been able to pull away from Johnny Greensmith, who's still going to be able to salvage something out of this weekend, but not really as much as he would have hoped for. He'll still be 4th in the championship, but he's going to lose further ground to this man, Blake Baldwin, who will extend his championship lead now. I'm not sure how that works out with drop scores, but on scratch points, he will extend his championship lead over what should be Herbert now into 2nd place, I'd imagine. Well, Herbert, no, because Yes, Herbert is ahead of Harding, but only by 1 position. So, and the fastest lap of the race still belongs to Harding. So I think it will still be Harding 2nd and Herbert 3rd. But out of the final corner they go. There's no doubt about who's going to take the race victory. James Blake Baldwin, the former champion, is doing everything he can to try and retake that title in 2018. He wins race number 3 here at Brands Hatch. Johnny Greensmith 2nd, and Aidan Hills comes home in 3rd. A very hard-fought 3rd. He'll be a bit disappointed maybe that it's not a race victory, but it's still a good podium finish. So Blake Baldwin for Greensmith from Hills the top 3, Luke Herbert 4th and Jack Harding 5th, ahead of Baldwin, Simon Variety in 6th, Jack Sycamore 7th, Carl Garnett 8th, Steve Roberts 9th and Will Stevenson 10th. Then it's Alec Livesley, Gary Townsend, Christian White, Bradley Kent and Tom Parker rounds out the top 15, ahead of Alex King, Alex Miller, then Nick Boone, James Keller, George Grant. We lost Sam Tatler. Colin Bysouth unfortunately was a late non-finisher, and so too Mark Swarbrick. So championship standings then, there you see it's 6 points in it between Herbert and Blake Baldwin, with Harding in 3rd, but this is on drop scores, remember, so Herbert does still lead on drop scores ahead of Blake Baldwin and Harding, with Greensmith 4th and Aidan Hills 5th, all still to play for.
James, what a busy race. It was tough, you fought through 1st place, well done.
Yeah, I think we battled through from 7th. You know, it was a hard race, but Blink Motorsport have done an amazing job with the car and given me an absolute weapon and tool to do the job, so I can't thank them enough. Car's wicked.
John, I spoke to you before the race. You held them off for most of the race, but 2nd place in the end isn't too bad.
No, it's not a bad result really. Should have had that win, to be honest with you. James caught me napping, top at Paddock Hill. So yeah, no, 2nd's good for overall.
Aidan, 3rd podium of the year. What a race to do it in.
Yeah, it was really good. Firstly, I just got to say massive thanks to my dad. He works tirelessly with me, you know, working on the car all the time, every night, and it's obviously coming together because we're a lot better than we were last year. The race was really good actually. Obviously starting 5th, I thought we've got a good chance reverse grid to get on the podium. And I dropped back to 7th before I've blown it now, and we just picked them off one by one, just kept on going and found myself in 2nd. And then obviously James did a really good move on me, and I was quite content staying in 3rd.